Margo Ward. I'm the founder and CEO of KidsXpress. The first time we've actually done this from our office. So I apologise for all the secret whispering. It's a little bit like Santa's elves going on at the moment. We've had a few technical glitches, and I think that's pretty indicative of what 2020's really been like, right? So I'm going to launch into this. We're going to share some slides. We're going to share a video, but I really want to acknowledge the fact that you have taken the time to explore what self-care in the silly season with KidsXpress and with me can be and what it could be like. I think it is a year that none of us will ever forget. It has been an extraordinary year. I know many of you have come online to get some tips in terms of your self-care, whoever you may be, whether you're a parent, a carer, a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a friend, a teacher, a coach, no matter who you are, to get some self-care for yourself. And I know all of you that are on this call today as well, this webinar today, is also concerned about our children, and we should be concerned about our children. As we know, 2020 has been a year like no other. And I think when we think about self-care, and particularly this year and going into the silly season, it's really important that we take stock of the year. We may have to look at things differently, and we know that. At KidsXpress, we do look at things slightly differently, and obviously there's always a focus on our children. Children at KidsXpress are at the heart of everything that we do. But it is really important, no matter who you are, if you're a mum, a dad, a carer, an aunt, an uncle, a teacher, a coach, a friend, a person in society, that we need to look and care for ourselves before we can care for our children. I want to take you through some stats. We know it is the season to be jolly, but is it really? It's meant to be the most wonderful time of year, right? And maybe this year for some people is more difficult than before. But for many people, it has always been difficult. Nearly 500,000 people experience fear of being physically or emotionally abused when thinking back to last Christmas. 1 in 4 Australian adults experience anxiety, 3 million experience depression, and 2 million experience social isolation when thinking back to last Christmas. 31% of Australians say they feel obligated to spend more than they can afford at Christmas. And perhaps this year that is even more critical. And 39% of Australians say it is the most stressful time of the year. And yet all the images that we see are not the images that provoke stress. All the images of joy and happiness and time together, that's not meant to be stressful, right? But for many people it is. And for this year, because of COVID, let's face it, it's a very COVID Christmas this year. Families may be apart due to border closures. Festivities this year, celebrations will be impacted. For many of us, job insecurity and reduction in income, particularly what we're seeing in our media going into 2021, puts increased pressure on households now and into the future, the uncertainty. 38% of parents have reported their children being more anxious and displaying behaviour that is more difficult to manage, they believe, as a result of COVID-19. And I think this is really important. Our children have also lived through the uncertainty of 2020 and the year that was dictated by COVID. We had a little guy recently asking us about Santa during Christmas. Well, does Santa have to wear a mask? How can Santa go to all the countries around the world and not quarantine? And why can Santa come into my house when I'm asleep and yet my nana can't come and I can't hug her? And I tell you, it's really important this Christmas that we do actually address some of these questions and concerns that our children are having. Because when you think about it, without giving the secret of Santa away, it's really important that we look to why these children are asking these questions, because it is a concern for them and they have experienced 2020 and everything that it's brought, just as we have. So I want you to take a moment to take a very big breath. And maybe, just maybe this year, every day leading up to Christmas, we just have to lower our expectations just slightly so that we don't create the amount of stress on ourselves that lead to disappointment as Christmas Day and Boxing Day and beyond descends upon us. And I have to tell you, one of the things that never ceases to amaze me is the number of parents over many, many years that have said, if you can just make my child happy, if you can just make my kids happy, then I'll be happy. If I had $1 for every time somebody said that to me, I would be a very wealthy woman. But the reality is, to make our children happy, to show our children happiness, we are all responsible for that, regardless of who we are in society. Our children's emotional and mental health matters for our future, and it matters that you care for yours. It starts with me, it starts with you, and it starts with us, the grown-ups. We have to fill our cup up before we can fill up our children's cup. So let's look at some of the strategies that can help you to create an opportunity and memories for your children that will last a lifetime. I'm going to take a slight pause because I'm conscious that some of you might not believe me right now. And I'm going to show you a quick video. This is a video that was taken a couple of years ago. It's been viewed by over 6.5 million people. It's interviewing some children about what the real meaning of a gift is and the importance of giving.
This year for Christmas, what are you hoping to get?
A computer. Big, giant Barbie house.
A trophy case.
Xbox 360. Minecraft Legos.
What do you think your mom or dad want for Christmas?
My mom would probably want a ring. She's never really had a ring.
Jewelry. She loves jewelry. A new TV. Like watches.
So, we actually did buy an Xbox 360.
What in the world? I wanted this! Okay, and you really got this for me?
A new laptop.
Wow.
And
It's a necklace.
So we also bought a necklace because you said you also wanted to get a necklace for your mom or your auntie. The catch is that you can either get a gift for yourself, or you can pick a gift for your mom and dad. I need you to pick one. Now before you answer, oh, I bet that's hard. Is that a really hard question?
Mm-hmm.
What gift do you pick?
I choose this.
I gotta go with the ring.
What gift do you pick?
That one. That one. That dress.
I'll choose this for my mom.
I'll choose this one.
It's a really tough question,
I'll
but
give him this.
you already know? Tell me why.
Because Legos don't matter. Your family matters. Not Legos, not toys, your family. So it's either family or Legos, and I choose family.
I get gifts every year from my family, and my mom don't get anything.
If I get a laptop, my mama will something. She helps me when I'm sick. She helps me with my homework.
She gave me a house to live in.
They look out for me and do stuff for me, so I need to give back to them.
Now I have the opportunity to give him something.
Because you actually picked the gift for your family, you're actually gonna go home with both. Tell me how you're feeling.
I'm feeling really happy and thankful.
Just happy. Thankful for
For your family? For what?
my family, everything.
He did make his decision, actually. And he picked the Pandora charms.
Oh, that is sweet. You're gonna make me cry. So what are you gonna do to me? Oh, it's for me? Oh, it's for you.
Thanks, guys.
I was going to.
How amazing is that video? I think it's just so important to remember Sometimes we think it is about the physical gift we give to children, but as you saw in that video, it's so much more. The gift of time, the gift of love is so incredibly important. The oxygen mask theory of parenting, which many of us have heard of before, is so important, and yet I know for many of you, it goes against every grain of your being to think of yourself first before your child, but it is just so incredibly important. Showing them how to love and care for themselves by doing it yourself is one of the greatest gifts you can give to our children. I was reminded of this a few years ago as a mum and son sat in our reception area looking at the lights on our Christmas tree. Their husband and dad had died at Christmas Eve the year before. Mum had tried so hard to make Christmas really special this year because she was so conscious that her husband and their dad weren't going to be there this year. But she had tried so hard that the kids felt like they weren't acknowledging their dad. As they sat there watching the Christmas lights, tears started to fall. And that little guy said, "You know what, Mum, it's okay. Christmas isn't going to be the same without Dad anymore, but we're just going to create a different Christmas for us." He helped her. She put on her mask and realised she needed to get support for her grief and loss so that she could help her child. As we look to strategies, I think we're all conscious of the 12 days of Christmas and the different things that we do, and putting a list together that actually helps you with Christmas. These are just some examples that I've put together. Learning to breathe deeply, and I mean really deeply. Giving yourself permission to feel. I know for some of you, if you really lean into your feelings, you'll worry that you'll ever come out of them. One of the strategies I use is putting a timer on and going, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to feel sad. Or for the next half a day or however many hours, I'm going to feel sad. But when that timer goes off, it's time for me to do something different. Prepare your Christmas song list. We all love a bit of Mariah Carey. So it's time for her to come out. Put your Christmas list together. Dance to your own rhythm. Learn dance moves. Indulge in an activity that's fun and one that you're probably going to fail at. Every year I try and organise myself to do something that I know I'm not going to be good at. A few years ago, it was learning to surf, and it was a disaster, but I loved every moment. Believe that no is a complete sentence and that saying no is okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about lists in a minute, but lists are important, and maybe even putting them under the tree. Please never underestimate the value of sleep and rest. Plan for sleep and rest. Make some of those chores around Christmas, whether it be wrapping presents or cards, make them joyful. After this, my team and I are going into our boardroom. We're putting the Christmas carols on, and we're going to be writing all our Christmas cards as we sing. Give yourself the gift of time. If sitting still for 30 minutes is just too much, then make it 5 minutes, but give yourself time. And importantly, give yourself permission to let Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, a normal day if it needs to be. It doesn't need to be the way it was before. One of the important lessons I learned from one of our young children in the program, he was 10 years old. And last year before Christmas, I went out to one of our school programs and he was really angry. When I sat with him in his anger, the reason he was angry because he was actually scared about Christmas and the holidays. His family situation was very complex, and for him, he didn't know what he was going to do with all that time and where he belonged. So together we worked on our Christmas list of the things that he was going to do. When we think about lists, it is the time of year that we make lots of lists, add lists around gifts and guests and food. And I think it's really important this year, and one of my suggestions is make a list of self-kindness, the gifts of permission. Allow yourself to let go of expectations and obligations. Just let them go. It doesn't have to be the way it's always been. The gift of time. Plan to slow down and then plan to slow down some more. I've mentioned the gift of rest. Please learn the art of rest. And the gift of meaning. What are the most meaningful memories for you at Christmas? Can they be recreated this year? What rituals are important to you? I mentioned before about writing a list. I believe writing a list of all the things that you've achieved this year, wrapping it up and putting it under the tree now so you can open it on Christmas Day is a wonderful gift. Maybe writing a similar list of all the things that you've noticed they've achieved during the year is a gift for another one of your family members. If they're not with you, maybe post it, and not online. Do it the old-fashioned way. Post it now so that they get it before Christmas. And creating meaning in gifts. We had a conversation yesterday with the team around one of the staff's 12-year-old daughters and how her need around fashion has become a very real thing, and she didn't know what she wanted for Christmas. We came up with the idea that maybe actually the gift being going to a fashion show together next year is leaning into where her child is feeling and her focus is, but also a new memory to create for them. And then we look to New Year's resolutions for 2021. I'll be honest and say I haven't done New Year's resolutions for many years, and I don't do them. I do intentions for the year ahead. One of the things that has concerned me is the number of people I have heard saying 2020 didn't count. Trust me, it counted. It counted for you, it counted for me, and it counted for our children. The most important thing we've all done this year is that we have survived a year that we never saw coming. And it's really important that we do make it count. What did you learn from 2020? Perhaps what you're leaving behind, but also what are you taking? What lessons are you taking forward for you and your family as you move forward into 2021? I'm a huge believer in serendipity, but in the sense of we've got to create a plan. Those plans can go awry, as we well know this year. But if we know what our intentions are, we can still hold through to those intentions, regardless of what might be out of our control in the year ahead. It is the magic of planning. And when you think of guest lists, when you think about who you want to be, and we're going back a little bit, who you want to be, who gives you energy, who takes it away, think about who you want to spend time with. Try to minimize or even stay away from people or situations that make you think or feel that you are hard to love. Food list is another list. It's not all about food. It's also about what you're saying and thinking and watching. It's okay to binge The Crown over the holiday period, but be conscious about what you're absorbing. And your wish list. Please don't give up on your hopes and dreams for 2021. Let your imagination out and let it play. It is the time to be creative and fun. And there is also the naughty and nice list. I really hope you give yourself the freedom, because we all need a good belly laugh and we all need some fun. It is important to see humour in everything that we do, or most things that we do. And as we close, as I'm very aware of the time, and we've sort of gone over a little bit of our time just due to a few technical hitches. I think when it's all said and done, when the Christmas tree does get packed away in the new year and the lights go off and the tinsel is away, and we look towards the year that has already started at that point, it's so important, whoever you are, to remember. A child is going to remember who was there and not was spent on them. Kids outgrow a toy and outfits, but they will never outgrow time and love. And us as adults, I think that's incredibly important for us to remember, for us and for those that we love. It's about the time we spend with each other, the kindness that we show each other, and really importantly, how we care for ourselves. I think it's important to say at this point as well is, what do you do if you think you might not be okay? And equally as important as we talked about our list, it's really important you do think about this. For the first time, we know that people are being confronted with the thought that they need to seek help, or they have sought help for the first time. If you think you might not be okay, reach out and tell somebody. Ask somebody to check in with you, not just one person. Maybe it's 5 people that you need to check in with. Maybe you need to be the check-in for somebody, but tell somebody ahead of time. Don't think you need to do this alone. We are all doing a very different Christmas this year. And if you know you are missing somebody this year, if they're not here, if they have passed away, or they are no longer in your life for whatever reason, or they can't physically be with you at Christmas, acknowledge them with a ritual. Find what that ritual is for your family and for you, and acknowledge that. And of course, if you are really concerned, talking to your GP and Lifeline and Beyond Blue are always there for you. As we draw to a close, and I know a few of you have questions, I just, on behalf of everybody at KidsXpress, I want to wish you a calm and joyful time with your family, with those you love and those you care for around you. This is a time more critical than ever to care for ourselves so that we are able to care for our children. That together, if we focus on ourselves, regardless of who we are in society and who we are to children, that we can together all create a future that our children so deserve. Take time, give yourself the gift of time and presence and joy. And I wish to all see you all in 2021.
Thank you, Margo. That was great. We do have a couple of questions, and we've got a couple more minutes if you had any to send them in. One was, and I think you covered it in that second last slide, Margo, my family are all overseas, so I'm having Christmas alone in Sydney and dreading it. Do you have any tips to reduce anxiety around Christmas?
Absolutely. I think the reality is that many of us are spending Christmas away from our families, maybe maybe we normally go home. I know for myself, all my family is back in New Zealand, and so I'm not able to go home and see them for Christmas. But I think acknowledging that is tough, acknowledging that it can be a really difficult time for all of us as we are separated from family. And I did mention in terms of creating rituals, but again, maybe reaching out to your family beforehand and going, you know what, I just want to make sure I connect, and that whether it's via the wonders of Zoom, or you connect in a way, or that you're sending those lists to family members and asking them to send them to you, that somehow you do connect with family, and know that this is not going to be forever. This too shall pass. Eventually, we will be able to see our families. We will be able to travel again. We don't know when that might be, but it will happen. And knowing that will be. In the meantime, it is also creating this opportunity to do something different this year. Talk to your friends and family. Find a pseudo family here that you can spend Christmas with. These are all things that are incredibly important as we are separated from loved ones at Christmas.
Yeah, and I think do we have time for one more question? My child is now worried about large gatherings and is already saying she doesn't want Christmas with all the extended family. How can I help reduce her anxiety?
So I think that's incredibly important. A little bit like the little guy that was really worried about Santa coming into his house. I think it is, children are concerned. They've obviously absorbed all the media, etc., that we have seen as well. And they are concerned in terms of being in larger groups. We need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge that they have fears around that. They don't understand that all of a sudden things have changed yet again. And I think as a family, you need to sit and talk about that. And together you need to agree what that's going to look like. You need to make sure that your child is acknowledged in that way. Do they need to wear a mask? Maybe you only stay for a certain amount of time. Or maybe this year you say no to going to too many places. It is about the family as a unit and making sure you as a unit and that child's fears and anxiety is acknowledged. Remember, this is about acknowledging that they've also been through this year. So we need to do that as emotionally safe as we possibly can.
That's it. Unless anyone's got any more to send in, they're the questions we've had so far.
Wonderful. So everybody, I am very conscious of your time. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If you do have any questions, please contact us through our email addresses, etc. You can always reach out and ask us any questions you like around children, the silly season, any self-care. I wish you all a very safe and Merry Christmas, and all intentions that you want for 2021, I hope they come to be.